All right, so today we're subtracting mixed numbers with regrouping. All right, so we're going to look at some problems with subtracting with regrouping. So the first one, let's look at this first problem. So we have 7 and 2/8 minus 1 and 1/8. So with this problem, we're going to just subtract our fractions first, right? So we're doing 2/8 minus 1/8. So 2/8 minus 1/8 is 1/8. And then we're subtracting our whole, 7 minus 1. 7 minus 1 is 6. So we know our answer is 6 and 1/8, right? So it's very simple just to subtract regularly because I know that 2/8 is bigger than 1/8 and I can subtract. But what if we have it to where our numerator, our top fraction is smaller than our bottom fraction, right? So this is where regrouping comes in. Just like when we used to subtract, well, when we do subtract, right? And we have like 460 minus 59, right? And you know you can't do 0 minus 9, so you go over to the 6 and take 10 away, right? So that's the same thing we're about to do here, right? So we have 4/8 minus 6/8. So what we need to do here, and look, we're going to see, all right, so 4/8 minus 6/8. I know I cannot do 4 minus 6, right? So what I have to do is take a whole. So we're going to go next, we're going to go like next door, right? And borrow a whole from this 3. So that means if I take a whole away from the 3, my 3 becomes a 2, right? And then I have to add a whole here. So that means I'm adding a whole. But what fraction represents a whole? 8/8 represent a whole because my denominator is 8. So I'm adding 8/8 to 4/8. So I have to add this. So 8 plus 4 is 12/8. So I have 12/8. Now I have a bigger fraction up top to where I can subtract 12/8 from 6/8 now, right? Because 12 is big. So 12/8 minus 6/8 is 6/8. And then I'm subtract my whole. 2 minus 2 is 0. So this is a process. So if ever you have a fraction that is smaller at the top, you have to borrow a whole, then add a whole to the numerator so that you can get a higher fraction at the top. So we're going to do one together. So 4/8 minus 7/8. I know that 4 is smaller than 7. So that means I cannot just subtract this regularly. I have to borrow a whole. So I'm borrowing from the 4, and my 4 turns into a what? Excellent. My 4 turns into a 3. And then I am going to add a whole to this 4/8. So 4/8 plus what fraction represents a whole that with a denominator of 8. Great, 8/8. So I'm going to put 8/8 here. And then I'm going to add, what is 8/8 plus 4/8? Excellent, 12/8. So now I have 12/8 minus 7/8. Good, 5/8. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. So my final answer is 2 and 5/8. What you will never do is, this is what you don't do. Do not do 4 minus 7 and say, oh, 3/8 is mine. 3/8 and 3 minus 1 is 2. No, it's not going to work like that. This is 12/8 minus 7/8 is 5/8. So this is how you're going to be solving these problems, all right? So let's look at this one. 2 and 5/10 minus 1 is 7/10. 5 is smaller than 7, so I know I have to borrow, right? So my 2 turns into a, good job, 1. Then I'm going to add a whole here because I took a whole away, so I'm going to add it back to this fraction. What whole represents a fraction that has 10 as its denominator? Great, 10/10. So I'm going to add 10/10. 10/10 plus 5/10 is 15/10. Now I can subtract. So what is 15/10 minus 7/10? Great job, 8/10. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So my answer is 8/10. All right, let's do another one like that. Let's do 6 and 3. Uh-oh. Let's do 6 and 1/4 minus 2 and 3/4. All right, so here we go. I know that 1/4 is smaller than 3/4. I can't do 1/4 minus 3/4, so I'm borrowing from the 6 and make it a, good job, 5. And then what fraction am I going to add to my 1/4? That represents a whole. Good job, 4/4. So I'm going to add 4/4. What is 4/4 plus 1/4? Excellent, 5/4. Now I can subtract. Now what is 5/4 minus 3/4? Excellent, 2/4. And then 5 minus 2 is, good, 3. So my answer is 3 and 2/4. Now, I think we got this covered. Now, what if we have a situation where there's nothing here, right? So we're doing 4 minus 2 and 4/5. You do not just subtract regularly. If there's nothing up here, guess what? We got to make something there, right? So what we're going to do is we're still going to borrow from a whole. So we're going to take a whole and put a whole here. So I'm going to take a whole away. If I take a whole away, I'll get 3. Now I'm going to put a fraction here that represents a whole. But I know you're like, what fraction will represent a whole? I don't know because I don't know what the denominator is. Well, let's look down here. Our denominator is 5. So that means I'm going to put 5/5 as my whole. So now I'm going to subtract. So now I can subtract because I have something here. So 5/5 minus 4/5 is 1/5. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. So my answer is 1 and 1/5. All right, so let's look at this one. Actually, let's look at this one. All right, so we have 7 minus 3 and 6/8. So again, there's nothing here, but we have to make something there. So I'm going to borrow from the 7 to make it a 6. And then I'm going to add a whole. But what fraction represents a whole with 8 as its denominator? Great, 8/8. So I'm going to put 8/8 here, and now I'm going to subtract. Now, 8/8 minus 6/8. Great, is 2/8. And then 6 minus 3 is 3. So my answer is 3 and 2/8. All right, so today what we did was subtract with mixed numbers with regrouping. All right, so we're going to work on some more of this in our small groups today.